Welcome to Cybersecurity Refined and Feral, where refinement meets chaos in the digital world. We invite you to join your co-hosts Candy Alexander and Cailin Sullivan in another open conversation on topics related to cybersecurity.
Hello, everyone. My name is Candy Alexander. I am your co-host for our podcast, Cybersecurity Refined and Feral. And I'm joined by my co-host, Cailin, who just happens to be my daughter. Cailin?
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cybersecurity Refined and Feral. Today I would love it if we could talk about women in tech and essentially more or less how do we walk the line between being the nice woman and coming off as a biche. So I think from my perspective, all the women in our family are very strong, vocal women, which can come off in a workplace as being bossy. Uh, so I would love to get your perspective on what you've experienced and how you've walked the line, so to speak, like Johnny Cash.
Oh my gosh, where do I start? Well, there was once upon a time when I was just a itty bitty girl, and my mom used to get so frustrated with me and my brother, Patrick. I'm the youngest. He was the second youngest. We were always the ones that were hiding behind her. And, the two oldest ones were out there. And I was never like that. So even the fact that I'm doing this podcast now with you, my mother would probably be like, who is this child? And I have through the years slowly matured and come out of my shell. And some might say too much. Imagine the joke. The reason why I was snickering when you were talking is because I'm thinking about my coworkers, and they really sometimes think. I wonder what they think actually. Keep in mind the most of the interaction that I have with my coworkers is with male men. We have another young woman who works there, and she's more of ops for the company. So she does. She obviously handles herself differently than I, and for some reason or another, I don't. I get this impression that I have this reputation about me, and I don't know if it's because I've grown to have to be that way because of the positions I've had, or if it just comes with age, like that cranky old woman with many cats, which I hope to never be that person. Although I do love kitty cats, but I mean, I don't know. I think it's environmental by all means, right?
Cultural
Yes.
too.
And let's face it, I'm thinking when you say cultural, I'm thinking about the other cultural societies. Clearly, we have that American woman profile that we've been set to. And I think I do own that to some extent, but I think sometimes as well, it's just who I am and where I've come from. And I had to more or less fight for my own, fight to be heard. Because I mean, so many times I'd be in meetings and whatnot, and this absolutely drives me nuts. And we've had this conversation in one of our infamous, mother daughter date night with FaceTime. Is when I have people, I'll explain something, and then somebody has to step in and do the mansplaining, which sends me through the roof. So, any of you listeners out there, you want to really, get somebody upset who is a woman in, some capacity with authority or whatnot, mansplain. and it just see how much it's appreciated. So
I actually saw an article recently that was kind of joking about that, and it was basically saying if somebody does that to you, you just treat them like a toddler. Like, yeah, good job. Good job, John. What a great input.
but the
Like,
thing is,
can you
yeah, but the
imagine?
thing is that I've also, through my experience, have learned that some people, they're not necessarily mansplaining. Like, all right, let's give
Mm,
scenarios. Okay, so like being a consultant, I would be in a meeting, and let's face it, some don't necessarily understand a lot of the methods and thinking of cyber, and so I feel my job, especially as a consultant and or where I am in my career, is I need to do the translation of technology and or very complex thoughts and methodologies for people who aren't in technology, like
yeah.
finance or HR or whatever. So, and also as part of my background, the whole reason I got into cyber was because I was to teach people at Digital Equipment Corporation how to use the technology for security that we develop. So I inherently through my whole career have always been a teacher, a passive teacher. So
Mm,
when I was having a meeting with clients, and then I would, give the explanation and everything, and you get the whole body language where the client understood what I was talking about, whatnot, and then to have my peer jump in and reiterate what I just said, but in his own words, really irritated me.
And there's a difference between saying it to digest it and saying it just to,
Right.
voice your own
Because
opinion,
that's
right?
exactly was going to be my second scenario. I've also been in the situation where I'd be having a conversation with somebody one on one and my colleagues, and I would be articulating the reasoning behind a different approach or whatever, and they would repeat it back to me in their own words. But I understood that, and I've come to understand and keep reminding myself in that situation, they're doing it to make sure that they understand they can, repeat what they thought they heard. Kind of goes back to like when you were a little one with ADHD, and so, Cailin, what did I just say? you know, yeah,
Um,
but I mean, I think that those are two distinct differences, and one's okay and one isn't. If I
yeah.
feel that it tears my credibility down, and so
Hmm.
yeah, it's not conducive.
Yeah, you have to look for those social cues in the context of like if you're in a group meeting and if people look confused, then maybe you can like put it in different words. But if like you can tell by people's body language that like, yep, they're understanding what it is that was just said, um, don't do that. Just be like, oh yeah, I agree with what Candy said. Perfect. Like, there's other ways to kind of be aware of your actions and your words and how they can be interpreted by other people.
Right. And so, when I find myself in those situations, I mean, at the moment, it's not appropriate to counter that experience or to do it, just go with the flow, right? Because it's in front of a customer or client, obviously. Um, uh,
Yeah.
but, even in group meetings, I've had that happen. And, that's where the shy Candy, who's like deep, 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 deep inside me, will oftentimes not say anything until it's happened like 40
Mm,
times. And then it's like, I've struggled. I mean, that's where you and I have had these conversations. It's like, okay, so I would handle it this way, like typically after, the 39th time I do something, but the first 39 times I just get upset. And that's not
mm.
really healthy or conducive to a good environment either. So like, how have you handled it? So what are some of the situations that you experienced and how did you handle it?
As far as mansplaining, or I haven't really had too many instances because I'm pretty quiet when it comes to like group interactions. If there's something I really want to address, then I talk about it, but typically I'm more of a listener. Um, However, there have been times where I've been interrupted when I'm speaking. That's what it's another one that's not very fun. Um, I have since learned to literally say, "Excuse me, I'm speaking," in the same sentence of what I'm continuing to say. Um, I know that there's a lot of workplace cultures where like talking over each other during meetings is like accepted or almost encouraged just because that's what the culture is. It's competitive and that's just how it goes. I prefer to stay away from those cultures because I don't necessarily thrive on internal
I think
competition.
those are really unhealthy environments. And I think that those
Yep.
environments are truly defined by leadership. If it
Yes.
happens at that level and or if it's permissible, okay, then it carries through the organization. But to me, and this isn't, this is across the board. It happens to anybody and everybody. To your point, that it to me, it's indicative of no respect for your fellow workers.
Yeah. Yep. 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 Um, Especially if there's like it's mid sentence and there's not like a pause or a natural
Yeah.
pause. That's definitely a disrespect. Being ADHD, sometimes like thoughts come in and the mouth just goes. Um, Usually, I feel like you can tell the difference between that and a not necessarily malicious, but like unconsciously malicious
Mhm.
um, interruption in what people are
Well,
saying.
it's interesting too because I was just thinking about another scenario that I've been in, um, where people will continuously talk and or interrupt you, and it's because I think my gut says it's because they're not confident and they're trying to overpower and control the conversation so that their inadequacies are not identified. So they feel if they control the conversation, then they can control, the knowledge shared or not, type thing. And I've learned to just let that happen because it speaks to their level of knowledge, experience, and maturity. To be quite honest, just
Yeah,
let it go, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or those people that from when I was at employed at a very large enterprise, the people that just like to talk just to talk in meetings, like, oh, so today I wrote some notes and I sent some emails, just like jib jabbering on and on. Like, okay, we have actual things to get to. Let's get to them.
But
Like,
that's where there's that line, Kaylin. That's why that's why people talk about us the way they do. Just kidding, but not really. I mean, seriously, I don't know. Um, it goes back to your question, like why or, what is my experience with people feeling that I can be bossy. I don't intend to be. I really don't. Like,
yep,
I think back because I mean, I was on the ISSA International Board of Directors for like 25 years, and I was international president for 2 terms. And I'm thinking about those years, especially the last 5 as president. And I will tell you that I go through life and experiences with always looking for a lesson to be learned. How could I have done that better? How could I have handled that better? Not necessarily that I'm always looking for, nitpicking myself, but I'm always looking to continuously learn. That's why we're having these conversations together and with our community for Cybersecurity Refined and Feral, is so we can learn from each other. So I'm all about learning. And when I think back to that period of time, I think that there were times that I could have done things a lot differently. I sense that people did not appreciate my attempt to not not be a ruler per se, but to try and lead people to beliefs. But there's a lot of hidden agendas and things like that that contribute to help feed off what others might perceive you to be. And I think that when things like that happen, you need to recognize it and you need to try and, I don't know, try to distill it, try to, not overreact.
Comfort, yeah.
But there's a lot, I mean, because what we're
Yeah.
talking about now is just outside perceptions, right?
Yeah.
Reputation.
Yep. Yes. Yep. Yep. Yes. There's a really good book that I read, and it was called Hardball for Women. And it goes into a lot of different statistics about how women are risk adverse. We're raised to be like that. Um, raised like just naturally want to cooperate with others. Whereas men are more risk adverse, and competition is like in their blood, right? So I think being able to recognize some of those inherent
Mhm.
qualities and look to balance
Right. Well,
helps.
it's interesting you say that because I'm thinking too of the difference. Like we're raised, or from our culture here in the United States, that women, we feel that everybody needs to like us.
Yes.
Everybody likes,
Yeah.
and that goes back to what I was just talking about. Like when I was in the role of president, I needed to have the board like me, and even post. I worry, well, you know, whatever. Do they still like me? And so I think there's a difference because when you look at us, always worrying about people liking us, whereas men is like, I could hear like a lot of guys say, I don't care if they like me or not. I'm here to do my job. So I've adopted that mentality and hence why people think I'm bossy, because my role is, of late I am a security strategist, executive, and CISO, and I am brought in to help guide and advise. However, that's translated to don't tell me what to do, you're telling me what to do. It's like I can't win. So
Mm-hmm.
how much of it is on us versus the world around us? And I think that that's where I think some of, and I'm going to say this, and it's probably going to be not real popular with a lot of people, but that's where the whole conversation in regards to DEI, diversity, equality, and inclusion, that's where that's being missed. Is like, yes, I've changed, but you got to understand, I'm only here to do my job. And believe me, Kaylin, I'm polite and professional. There may be times where I may be more direct or more, I don't know, I don't want to say stern, but I'm more direct guidance,
Direct.
as opposed to soft and gentle. Sometimes it warrants to be, hey, do you realize what you're doing is causing your organization risk and potential to cost you all kinds of money and or setbacks. And that message isn't always taken well from a woman as opposed to like a man.
Yeah. 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 I always have said, because I'm a mid-level employee in my profession, mid-level career, I have always told my manager that if I stop fighting with you about stuff, then there's a problem. So I think from the perspective of like you're an executive, you're doing strategic leadership stuff. Um, it's up to me at my level. If I see something, I need to say something. Like I'm very particular about like verbiage. Like we don't call it SOC 2 compliant. It's not SOC 2 compliant. We have a report. It's an attestation. And I think it makes me wonder, being vocal about that kind of stuff can be another thin line to walk.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's so funny because it's the damn marketing people, right? Because they do call it SOC 2 certification, right? And I'm laughing because this week I was in Cloud Security Alliance AI research working group, and we were talking about agentic agents, right? And I am on this like soapbox of late about trust in data and trust
Mm-hmm.
in agentic agents, trust in AI, and all of that. And so they're like, yeah, 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 yeah. And they're like, well, hold on. I said, you read
Yeah.
everywhere about trustworthy AI, right? Or it needs to be trusted, a trusted AI system. Where is that defined?
Mm-hmm.
Who's defined that? And they're like, oh, there was like 4 people that came out. Oh, that's just marketing people. It's like, no, it's not. But it's the same thing with the SOC 2 certification versus an attestation to your level of compliance to a SOC. So yeah, you and I, but that's where we're purist and we're professionals, but we need to balance the different how the
Mm-hmm.
world talks about it and how we talk about it amongst ourselves. Because,
Yeah. It's
no, I
also,
was just
go
going to
ahead.
say because oftentimes it gets blurred, and even our
Yes.
profession loses sight of the definition of things, and that's why you and I are purists, and it's like, no, darn it, stop saying that, or it's not just
Mm-hmm.
marketing people; it's a thing. Okay, trust is a thing.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's even more important when we're talking about like GDPR and HIPAA. Like we support customers' compliance. We are not compliant ourselves. We have programs around being able to support the customer's compliance. So stop saying that we're
Well,
compliant.
you bring out another really interesting thing that I just thought of is that, as part of the cybersecurity profession, and this is from, where you are at mid all the way up to executive, senior, whatever, season level, a major portion of our job is educating and making people aware.
Mm-hmm.
So as the educator, person to make people aware, they see it as being bossy about, well, this is how you term things, but
Yeah.
it's like it's just trying to
Yeah.
help you understand, right?
Mine's like, let's talk about this accurately.
Because again, it goes
That might be my little feral side coming out, though, that I'm such a stickler about it. So I was like, everybody's gonna get confused if we're talking all
right.
different things. Like,
Well,
let's.
I think that's what we do as a society, because I'm thinking too back, talking about common language, right? And the need thereof, because I believe in that so much, because again, goes back to the AI working groups. It's like, hey, we've had discussions in these meetings, like, wouldn't it be nice if we all had like a common term, common definition of what X means? And so I don't know. I don't know, Caitlin. I think, but again, but it goes back to and I'm sorry, those that know me, I've never really consciously pulled the woman card. I'm a woman in tech and I have these challenges. I never knew that until like maybe 5 years ago that I was really challenged with, being a woman in tech. Because I didn't ignore, I just thought it was me. But anyways,
Mm-hmm.
with a woman in technology trying to strive for common definition and common language and help educate our coworkers and our organizations, we're seen as being bossy. Whereas if a man was to it, it would be authoritative. Well, you know, Joe said that, or Jim said this, or so this
Mm-hmm.
is it. So I don't know. I don't know what that balance is. And it goes back to, like you said, walking the line. How do you walk the line without falling on either side of the line? And I think that
Mm-hmm.
takes a lot of practice, kind of like walking a tightrope,
Yeah.
recognizing.
Yeah. I actually use humor quite a lot to leverage a little bit of social engineering. Um, Sorry for all of those that my secret's out now. To address a lot of things that otherwise might be serious, but I want people's attention, and humor does that quite well.
Yes,
So I think it's also developing soft
yes,
skills other than, in addition to leadership
yes.
skills and being able to manage people effectively. I don't know. I don't know how else we can walk the line so that we're not looked at as monsters in the workplace.
Is that saying, what is it? Walk silently with a big stick.
Yeah, FDR, I think.
I'm not doing any more quotes because I get in trouble with that. Deja
I,
vu all over again. You can tell I'm not a sports fanatic, especially basketball. Sorry, all you fans out there. I tried to fake it, but yeah, I think again, um, I think it's going to be some time, right, for individuals to learn how to manage that tight wire walk and or the culture and societies in which we work and live in. And it's more prominent, obviously, in the ones we work in. Um, and I do think it's kind of, like, the sandwich effect, right? Like I was taught a long time ago, when you're going to give bad news, then some good news, and then soften it or, reiterate the bad, but, try to because that's balancing it, right? And I think we need to be mindful of that. And that's why, again, thinking back to my current, environment, I'm seen as like, "Oh, don't mess with Candy." And it's funny because I've actually had people come to me after I left a position and said, "Oh yeah, so and so said, good thing Candy's not here because she wouldn't be putting up with that." But is that a bad thing? Is that a bad reputation? I don't know.
yeah, yeah, and because we're women and we value relationships and like cooperativeness, um, we take that more to heart than a man would. The man would be like, okay. Um, I can't tell you how many times I've been told that I was intimidating to people. Just like friends that like within a year of knowing them, they were like, I was so scared to talk to you because you look like you're, a huge. And I'm like, but I'm actually
I
not.
know. I know. It's true because I've had the
Yeah.
same thing said to me, and it's like I really try to, like,
Mm,
smile, do the physical characteristics to make myself approachable. Smile, make eye contact.
then there's me just like,
It comes off creepy, just kidding.
yeah.
Stop. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's sometimes it's just who we are too. I mean, so But it
Yeah.
goes back to, as a human being on this planet, each and every one of us should be looking to grow and,
Hmm.
improve themselves. And yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. So I don't
No.
know. I don't know what the secret is. Is just keep trying, I guess, right?
Mm. Yeah. Read Hardball for Women. It's a
Was
book.
wasn't there another book too? I never read it though.
Oh, The Nice Girls Don't Get the
Yes,
Corner Office. Yep,
really, I
that's
didn't
another
read
one.
that one, but I, I feel I may be reflected in that book, but I don't know. Um,
Mm.
but then again, I
Huh.
work from home, so clearly the corner office is out. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. I have my own corner and office in the corner of my
uh,
bedroom. Does that count? I even got a window.
there you go. This is one of our episodes I would absolutely love to hear what the feedback is
Mm.
from our listening audience, both male and female. Like, are we on target here? Have others felt that way? Have you thought that Kaylin and I were not approachable before, and now have found we are? Or have you been in that situation? And then again, from the guys out there, what words of advice would you have for women, to help take into consideration to improve our, reputation? I don't want to say
Perception.
reputation, but how, yeah, perception.
Perception.
Good word. Um, so yeah, I think we've covered this one. Yes.
Yeah, I think we rambled for long enough.
I think we had some good points though.
Yes.
Relatable. And again, this is all about conversation, whether it's between you and I, Kaylin, or love to hear again the feedback from our listeners, our community. If there's anybody who feels really strongly, wouldn't be opposed to touching on this topic again in the future, and have somebody join us. So if you've had some proven success, haha, with this, would love to have you join our conversation. So yeah. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up, for this episode. I'd love to again hear your feedback. If you, would honor us with giving us a thumbs up, or better yet, subscribe, we would appreciate very much both of those. And until next time, I wish that all of you would stay secure, stay refined.
And don't be afraid to get a little bit feral.
Thank you, everyone. Until next time.